Women's healthcare is in crisis right now. We're constantly being told that we need to alter, suppress, and destroy our fertile, life-giving female bodies. We're told that children will hinder our success, but we know there is another way.
When I was 17, I suspected that I was pregnant. I felt scared. Overall, I thought it was going to ruin my life. My main option at that time was abortion. My mom had reached out to Guiding Star. The people at Guiding Star made me feel welcomed and normal and more like an adult. Eventually, I chose life. I started referring to this baby in me as a baby.
Guiding Star just gave us the resources we needed. It was a safe place to be, and it just made a hard situation so much easier.
Guiding Star has been providing holistic, women-centered healthcare since 2015. We've empowered thousands of women to understand, embrace, and love their wonderful female bodies. We facilitate the work of compassionate healthcare providers who serve women and families across 8 Guiding Star locations. We're creating the new norm in women's healthcare. This is the new wave of feminism.
I'll never forget sitting down with our fertility care practitioner for the first time and finally feeling heard and understood and offering hope and answers.
We're just super thankful for Guiding Star and everything they've done and how they've supported us.
They became an emotional support system and made me feel validated in the feelings of being overwhelmed. Everything that came with being a mother just reassured me that I was doing a good job being a mom.
By supporting Guiding Star, you are helping women all over the world feel the empowerment that they deserve. Every woman should feel that it's possible to make life-affirming choices when it comes to fertility and healthcare. We want to bring this support to every single woman in the US, and we need your help to do it. By supporting Guiding Star, you are supporting women. You are supporting babies. You are supporting each woman's innate ability to nourish life. You are supporting the idea that women should not feel forced to choose between their children and their education or career. You're supporting a new version of feminism where women understand that our bodies are created beautifully and they deserve respect, understanding, and care. You are supporting a future for your daughters and your granddaughters where they know the truth of how incredible their bodies are. This is a movement. Join us.
Welcome, 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 everyone. Leah Jacobson, how are you doing?
I'm good. I love watching that video again. I hadn't seen it for a while.
Oh my goodness, it makes me so happy. And we have a very big surprise that I want to encourage everyone. If you caught that video, if you didn't, you can go back and watch it. But one of the beautiful women who shared their story of choosing life is going to be sharing more of her story. So I really want to encourage people to tune in a little bit later. But Leah, what are we doing here tonight in this virtual event, Empowering Authentic Womanhood, a new vision for pro-life women's healthcare? What are we doing?
Oh my gosh, I think we're just empowering the movement. We're having a great conversation tonight with excellent experts and allies in this movement, people that really understand what it's going to take to change the tide of women's healthcare, to change it towards a culture of life. So we have some really fabulous guests, and the questions that we're going to be answering tonight, I am just thrilled. They're going to be so much fun. Let's just get into it. Let's do it.
For anyone who might not know you, now most people I think watching this webcast will know who you are, but for anyone who you might be new to, can you introduce yourself?
I'm so happy to. I'm Leah Jacobson. I'm the CEO and I'm the founder of Guiding Star Project. So roughly a decade ago, I started out on this crazy mission called Guiding Star to really revolutionize women's healthcare. So I'm a mom of 7 living in North Central Minnesota, and just IBCLC. I'm a board certified lactation consultant, and I love women's health. I love everything about women's bodies, and I think they're the coolest. So I really hope that we can build this movement of people that just want to support and protect and nourish authentic womanhood.
Beautiful. And my name is Lisa Canning. I am the president of the Guiding Star Project. I am currently cooking up baby number 11. I am 1,000 weeks pregnant with. I am due. If I go into labor on this webcast, it will be a new Guiding Star.
we'll call in the midwife early because we have a midwife coming on at the end. So we'll call the midwife in early and she'll talk you through it and we'll get you safely through your delivery.
She'll coach me via live chat. Speaking of live chat, this is a live event. If you are watching this on the replay, a very big welcome to you. But we want to encourage you, wherever you are watching this, live on Facebook or live on YouTube, to please interact with us all evening long. We're going to be interacting right back. Thank you so much, Anna, for the congratulations. And just keep your comments coming as you hear from the guest speakers that we're featuring and you have questions. Just enter them in the chat and we will do our best to come back and answer them in the course of this evening. I want to share with you what you can expect from tonight. But before I do that, we have visitors. There's so many people. Leah,
I'm so sorry. And this is like that, you tell everybody, we're starting the webcast. Somebody watch the toddler. Somebody take her. And then, of course, the toddler comes into the webcast.
You will see on some of the interviews that were pre-recorded on this evening, you'll see that I have a little teeny tiny who comes into my lap, falls asleep. It's actually very entertaining. So we welcome everyone from far and wide. Anna Shepard, I see you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Let us know in the chat, where are you tuning in from and why are you interested in this topic? Where are you tuning in from? Why are you interested in this topic? Leah, before we get started, would you lead us in a prayer?
Sure. I would love to do that, actually. I think it's always really good for us to just surrender every moment to the Creator, the one who made our beautiful bodies the way they are, to just take a moment of time to be grateful for this day. So let's just pause. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the creation of our bodies. We thank you for the work that we are able to do, for the callings upon our lives to bring dignity to the bodies of those around us. Help us to build up a movement that is invitational and hospitable and joyful, that by our example of love for our own bodies and for the bodies of those around us, that we will create a true culture of life. We thank you, Lord, and we just ask for a wonderful evening tonight. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Leah. All right, without further ado, we are going to get right into it. I'm going to share my screen and we are going to have some fun. Here we go. Add to stage. We've got so many people joining us from all over. Anna from, of course, Ave Maria, Florida. We've got Aileen from Dallas. Kelly is a fertility care practitioner and a Fiat hormone coach in training. Julie is in Kansas City, but road tripping in Illinois. We've got Lydia. Hey, Lydia, in Metro Atlanta. Another a Georgia native, Stormy Myers, is here. So much fun. Welcome, one and all. All right, what are we doing tonight? We are talking about empowering authentic womanhood, a new vision for pro-life women's healthcare. And in this empowering webcast tonight, you will discover why abortion is so widely accepted as healthcare, quote unquote, and how you can change this narrative. The single most effective way to communicate that fertility is not a disease and something that needs to be suppressed. We're going to talk about doctors not even learning about natural approaches to fertility in medical school, and we'll explain why and what you can do about it. We're going to talk about some sneaky tricks used by big pharma, the media, and higher education to make women feel inadequate about their ability to make informed decisions for their health. Essential knowledge every girl should know starting as young as age 9, concepts that many women are uncomfortable talking about, and it's very key in creating a culture of life. Why full spectrum authentic healthcare is the most pro-life approach to medicine and what this looks like practically. And the truth about birth centers, chances are it's probably not what you think. Are you excited about these topics tonight, everybody? We are going to launch into our very first one, and I'm going to pass the microphone, so to speak, over to Leah Jacobson, our Guiding Star founder and CEO. And the first topic we're getting into tonight is the topic of why abortion is so widely accepted as healthcare and how to change this narrative. We also have two very big announcements coming up towards the end of our time together. These are very, 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 very big announcements that we're very excited to share. How many times can I say very in one sentence, Leah Jacobson? Very excited. I want to encourage you to stick around to the end of our webcast. We are going to do our best to keep this to a tight 2 hours. We're going to do our best, but we promise this is going to be so worth your time this evening. Leah Jacobson, abortion. Why is it so widely accepted as healthcare, and what can we do about it?
Well, I know you want me to keep this super short, but man, you guys, I actually wrote a book about this topic because it's not so simple. It's very complex how we got to this place culturally where it's a very common slogan to hear, it's between me and my doctor. You see signs held up at rallies all over the place that say abortion is healthcare. This has been something that has been firmly established and really pushed and kind of entrenched into a lot of young women's mindset that an abortion is nothing different than any other medical procedure. It's between me and my doctor. It's really nothing, not that big of a deal. It's just a healthcare thing. And how we got here, let's go on to the next slide. Just to, first of all, we're going to kind of do an overview of where we're at with healthcare. Women's healthcare in particular has been really narrowed down to just reproductive healthcare. We've really stopped looking at all the other aspects of our body. We've pretty much narrowed it down into the women's reproductive lifespan. Now, if we look at what I would kind of consider the competition to be, groups like Whole Women's Health Centers and Planned Parenthood and TIA and these different kind of women's health facilities, they really provide three main services, and they're within the women's reproductive realm. It's abortion, birth control, contraception, and then gender ideology, some sort of gender or identity care. Now, it's only three real services typically, but if you look at the lifespan, it goes all the way from this very early point in a girl's life of body awareness, which begins very young. I mean, body awareness is one where 4, 5, 6 years old, we're becoming aware of our body, all the way up through, puberty and fertility and pregnancy, lactation, motherhood, all the way through to menopause. These are the three kind of services that are continually being offered by really the competition. Under Roe versus Wade, where the pro-life movement has been and kind of still is in this moment, is we've been focused in that very little spot right there at pregnancy, end of pregnancy. That we've really been focused only on about a third of pregnant women who are abortion vulnerable. That's really who the pro-life movement's been serving. Meanwhile, we've really given the competition sort of the ability to define women's health. And so how have they defined it? They have defined it as abortion, birth control, and gender ideology, because that is their business model. There's a lot more to it. You can read the book Holistic Feminism, would be helpful for you to understand the ideological shifts that happened with the women's movement and feminism. But really, quite frankly, guys, we just ceded and got out of women's healthcare. We just kind of gave it to the competition to define. And it's time for us now to really to take it back. But let's look a little further into the pro-life movement right now. So this has been, a lot of people will say, well, we do have pro-life medical centers. And sometimes they're referring to a limited medical pregnancy center. And if we look at the services that are actually happening at most limited medical pregnancy centers, you're going to see things like ultrasounds. Some have abortion pill reversal as a medical service. You're going to see options counseling, STD testing, adoption, breastfeeding support, family resources, and parenting classes. Now, you guys, these are really helpful resources. These should be things that we are offering to women, but we know it's not enough. And so this next slide is just what Guiding Star's vision for women's healthcare is. So let's look at what Guiding Star says we should be doing in a full spectrum women's health center. So right from that moment of body awareness through to menopause, these are all the services that we believe need to be present to be a true, authentic women's healthcare center, to support authentic womanhood. We've got to be in these areas. We have to have doulas and midwives. and all the fertility awareness. We need to have curriculums for girls. We need to have things like the cycle show at age 9. We need to include drop-in child watch, postmenopausal care, breast cancer screenings, well woman, all of it. We really need to have these things in a cohesive, convenient location to call it women's healthcare, because you guys, women's healthcare is not just abortion and contraception. Women's healthcare is so much more, and we deserve so much more. So let's start fighting for it and let's start demanding it. So I know our first guest is going to really nail this one. So I don't want to go too much into this, but we got so many other people to talk about this tonight.
I love it. But I do want to pause and just look at, I'm going to actually just toggle for a minute back and forth. Okay. This is what is sometimes, well, actually, okay, let's go back here. Look at just the teeny tiny little, little squiggly line at pregnancy. And like, we're calling that healthcare.
Well, and that's where we're calling pro-life healthcare. Pro-life women's healthcare has been very limited in that area, and it's been very limited services in that area. But if we look at the opposition, Planned Parenthood, they absolutely are in the body awareness business. They're absolutely in the sexual awareness. That's their bread and butter, because they are proactively spreading a worldview to young people to create their basically their client funnel. They are creating future clients at a very young age by sharing a specific worldview about the body and about sexuality.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. The thing that is interesting, one of our, I heard this story that somebody was looking for something that they could have gone to their doctor, right? Oh, I think I might be pregnant, or I think I haven't done a pap smear in a long time. And it was like this automatic, oh, I should just go visit my local Planned Parenthood. Like some of these entities have become the automatic go-to, right?
Yeah.
How did that happen, Leah?
Well, like I said, we really got out of the space. We seeded it in a sense. We really did not insist upon keeping women's healthcare in a holistic setting, and we allowed things to become very isolated. Planned Parenthood, it makes perfect sense that birth control is their feeder, and they're going to use things like well woman exam to keep you coming in. But really, the purpose of a well woman exam is to get you onto a birth control method that is promoting a lifestyle that likely will lead to an unplanned or mistimed pregnancy. We know birth control fails. And so it's just an entire system that feeds itself. And we got out of the game as pro-lifers, and we put ourselves in that very small little spot there. We stopped trying to prevent it. I don't know that we ever really established curriculums on body awareness and sexual awareness. We never took the time to tether our young people to their biological reality of their bodies. We had an assumption that if you are born a girl, you will know you are a girl and you will care for your body as a girl throughout your lifetime. We had an assumption, and we didn't see what was coming. That's no longer the case.
Mm-hmm. I mean, who could have, right? That's a whole other fascinating thing. And I encourage people to pick up Leah's book, Holistic Feminism, to really understand some of that aspect as well. So one of the things I want to point out here that is very important is this concept of fertility awareness methods. Most of this audience, I think, will understand this, but just to cue up our next guest, for anyone who might not understand what this concept is, Leah, can you just briefly describe it?
Well, fertility awareness is exactly that. It's having an understanding of how your natural fertility in your body works. It's living in an unsuppressed, fertile body and knowing how to track your signs of fertility. It's just really unfortunate that most women are very unaware of, even the fact that you're not always fertile. You're only fertile for roughly a couple days each month. And there are definite signs that come along with that: elevated temperature and cervical mucus changes and breast tenderness, so many symptoms and signals that our body is communicating to us. And fertility awareness methods are methods that teach us to track and recognize that my body is communicating fertility at this moment. So as women, we have a very cyclical nature. It's beautiful. And fertility awareness methods try to protect and keep us in our natural bodies.
I recall being shocked. I think you had to physically close my jaw for me. I remember just being The statistic on this concept being taught in medical school is what? Like,
oh, I'm gonna let Dr. Dwayne tell you this one because she's the one who is the expert here. She knows all. Oh, she's the one that told me this fact, and I know she's your next guest, so I'm gonna let her tell you.
that it really is an interesting little predicament, let's call it, that we're in, where there's so much data and so much information, and it's clearly a big part of a woman's journey to be a healthy person, and yet it's not studied when you're becoming a doctor.
No, it's not studied. It's not studied at all. And I'm going to let the doctor that is trying to get everyone educated on it tell you about the reasons, because it blew my mind. I kind of had an assumption until my husband went through nursing school and had his fertility class, and was mocked when he said that it was possible to know when a woman conceived. In his nursing class on contraception and childbirth and all that stuff, they had the question posed to the nursing students, well, how would a woman know when her due date is? And people laughed in the class and said, well, I guess if they said, is it possible to date a pregnancy from date of conception? And the class said no. And the professor said no. And my husband said, pretty sure you can tell date of conception. And they laughed at him and they said, well, you must not be having sex very often then.
Oh!
To which he said, I'm fine.
Little did they know how many children were to be coming or already had come. So this is an important thing to set the stage for our conversation today. Give us some context into why this matters, why we need to talk about this, why we need to talk about this, particularly in the climate today. So without further ado, so excited to bring to our presentation tonight a beautiful woman who I have just recently come to know. Leah and Dr. Dwayne have known each other a little bit longer, and we're going to talk about why natural approaches to fertility are not commonly taught in medical school and what to do about it. Welcome to our presentation tonight, Dr. Marguerite Dwayne, and we're just going to bring you off mute. Here we go. We just need you to unmute yourself. Perfect. How are you?
Hi, Lisa. How are you? Hi, Leah. Great to talk to you again.
For anyone who might not know you and your work, can you briefly introduce yourself?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Marguerite Dwayne, and I'm a board-certified family physician and co-founder and executive director of a nonprofit called Facts About Fertility. And we started Facts after I had the opportunity to teach a small group of first-year medical students at Georgetown University about natural methods or fertility awareness-based methods of family planning. And I taught this class back in 2010, and I was motivated to teach this class because I myself had never learned about cervical mucus or basal body temperature or other signs that women can learn to chart their cycle using fertility awareness-based methods until I was in my first year of my family medicine residency at Lancaster General Hospital. So here I was, a physician, a woman, passionate about women's health, and yet nobody taught this to us in medical school, which was astounding to me. And the irony, I was listening in on your conversation with Leah, you had asked what percentage of doctors know about this. The year that I taught that elective for the very first time in 2010, there was a study published in which they surveyed family physicians and OBGYN physicians, the physicians that provide the majority of women's healthcare in this country. And only 3 to 6% of these physicians were familiar and knowledgeable with modern natural or fertility awareness-based methods, meaning over 90% of the doctors that care for women don't understand the basics of female cycle charting and how women and couples can plan their families, right? These are really true methods of family planning because you can use them if you're trying to prevent pregnancy or to achieve pregnancy.
Okay. So I have to highlight something you said there. So only 3 to 6% knew about modern methods. So what did they think when they heard natural fertility? What did they say?
So that's a great question. Facts, my organization, we actually did a survey of women's health directors in residency training programs. So these are the people that are training the next generation. We surveyed them. What methods of natural family planning or fertility awareness methods are you familiar with? The number one method they were familiar with, about 40 to 50%, were knowledgeable about the rhythm method. Shocker! Yet less than 10% knew about the Billings method, the symptothermal method, the Marquette model. And, you know, the rhythm method, when it was developed in the 1920s, 1930s, 100 years ago, was a major scientific event a century ago. But medicine has advanced, modern medicine has evolved, research has been done, newer methods have been developed and studied and proven to be effective for family planning. And yet, physicians who are responsible for teaching physicians in training or residents do not know about these methods, which means the doctors that you're seeing likely don't know about these methods. And more importantly, not only do they not know about them as a way of family planning to know like when you conceive, and yes, it can happen. I can tell you my children's birth dates and I can tell you their conception dates. And when you know your cycle and you can observe your signs and identify when you're fertile or not, this is so empowering. But beyond just family planning, women can use the female cycle chart as a way to monitor their health. And they can work with physicians and midwives and nurse practitioners trained in fertility awareness-based methods or restorative reproductive approaches to care to actually truly treat underlying women's health issues. So these methods have so many more applications than just family planning. Yes, it allows you to be aware of your fertility, but it really allows you to be aware of your cycle. And I tell my students, when a woman charts the signs of her cycle, these external observations of her biomarkers actually reflect her internal hormonal health. And yet doctors don't know this information.
So I can't not ask it. Like, why? Why is this not just a common practice right next to, you know, anything else?
Yeah, that is a great question. And many of the students that take our FACS elective, which we offer through Georgetown, and it's open for medical students and nursing students. We open it to any health professional student because we want everyone to learn about these methods. I think I explained to them, I think it's multifactorial, right? I think for physicians in practice, we don't have the time to take to explain to patients. And the reality is, the truth, women don't need doctors to be able to track their cycle, right? Like women can work with trained instructors to learn how to chart the signs of their cycle. Doctors are superfluous. Like you need a doctor to place your IUD or to write the prescription for birth control, but you don't need a doctor or a medical professional to teach you to chart your cycle. You can learn this from a trained instructor. And this takes time to do this. So because doctors are not necessary to teach, it's something that we don't necessarily learn about. The reality is too, is when women learn to chart their cycle, they don't need to rely on birth control. They don't need to have an IUD placed. They are truly in control and really empowered to manage their fertility. So doctors don't have drugs that they, need to prescribe or devices that they need to insert, and pharmaceutical companies stand to lose billions of dollars. I mean, the birth control industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Women are prescribed birth control, everything from family planning purposes to acne to postpartum to premenstrual syndrome to painful periods to irregular cycles. And the reality is birth control doesn't actually treat most of these conditions. It serves as a band-aid to suppress her cycle, to shut down a normally functioning bodily system, creating a diseased state, making her infertile without truly addressing the underlying issues. So there's simply the time factor and the money factor that I think are the two biggest influences preventing it. And let's be honest, and let's talk about the elephant in the room when it comes to fertility awareness-based methods. Many people are more familiar with the term natural family planning, which was a term coined in 1974 by the National Institutes of Health to describe these methods that women can learn to use when they chart observable signs of their fertility. Well, in the 1970s, the only organizations that were primarily promoting these methods were faith-based organizations. So many people see, well, that's a faith thing. That's not a medicine thing. And at Facts About Fertility, our focus is on the science. We're here to share the science. This is rooted in the woman's reproductive system, in the hormones that her body produces in a cyclical nature to, allow her to be fertile the 6 to 7 days out of the cycle when she's able to conceive. And when she learns to chart, to use that information in, conjunction with her partner to plan their families.
Mhm. What do we do about it, Dr. Dwayne? How do we change this?
Well, this is what we are doing at Facts. I mean, so I started this course a decade ago, 13 years ago in 2010, and the students were like, this is the most clinically relevant information. Like, this is basic women's physiology. Why doesn't every medical student learn about this? And I thought, you're right. This is something every medical student should learn. So that led me to co-found Facts, which originally was the Fertility Appreciation Collaborative to teach the science, because we believe in collaborating and working together to share the science, to teach the science. So we started this nonprofit, and what started out with an elective with 9 students in 2010, we started live streaming it to medical students at UT Southwestern in 2012. Then we recorded all of the presentations, and in 2018, we started offering it more broadly. In the last 5 years, we've taught nearly 1,000 medical students from over 100 different medical schools, dozens of nursing schools, all over the United States and all over the world. I presented about our work at a conference in Lisbon, Portugal, and I had physicians from Chile and Hungary and the Ukraine asking, how do we bring this information to our students? But I'll be honest, it's really hard to get people to support a movement that's trying to educate medical professionals, students, residents, doctors, nurses about female cycle charting, right? There's this assumption, well, doesn't every doctor know about this? And if they don't, can't they just learn about it? We're aiming to do that. And in addition to our elective, we have an online continuing medical education course for medical professionals. We had a very successful conference where I had the pleasure of meeting you, Lisa, in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We have a virtual conference coming up in just a couple weeks. And I loved what you were talking about, Leah, about women's health is not this very narrow period of time in pregnancy. It begins before puberty to postmenopause. And our conference on Saturday, November 11th, the Continuum of Women's Healthcare, will talk about the utility and the benefit of charting the female cycle from adolescence through menopause and how this can really change women's lives. And it's approved for continuing medical education credit, but it is open to everyone. We welcome everyone, especially medical professionals. So we encourage you to visit our factsaboutfertility.org website and considering, attending the conference and encouraging any medical professional or students that to join us, because more women need doctors that know this so that they get truly authentic healthcare. And I just want to comment, Leah, you shared how your husband was mocked and made fun of for saying this. Facts did a study a couple of years ago where we surveyed women about their experiences talking with their clinicians. Yeah. Your husband was not alone. A third of our respondents said they'd been laughed at or mocked or disrespected for the use of a natural method of family planning, which is just unconscionable. Women are smart, right? They don't need their apps to tell them when they're fertile. They're smarter than their smartphones. They don't need the doctor to control their fertility. They simply need the information to be able to understand their cycle, to make an informed choice, to share the responsibility with their partner, to engage in a regular conversation about their family planning goals. At Facts, we're kicking off our Continuum of Women's Health course conference with the topic of reproductive life planning. They need the information. And they need their doctors and their nurses and their midwives to be educated. That's what Facts is doing. And we love getting to collaborate with you, Leah, so that we can help train a generation of medical professionals that can go work in your Guiding Star centers to help ensure women get the care that they deserve from before puberty until post-menopause.
I love it. Let's do it. All right. Lots of chatter in the chat. Cello says, I'm a women's health nurse practitioner. We didn't learn much about this in school either. Anna Shepard says, yes, knowledge is freedom. Sean says, follow the money, you will find no ethics. So, there's all kinds of things here.
Yeah.
Dr. Marguerite, thank you so much for the work that you are doing to move forward this cause, for linking arms with us. Leah, any final things for the good doctor?
No, I just want to encourage anyone who's listening to this webcast that's thinking medicine, pre-med, any, women's healthcare, get to know facts. And we have a lot of people that reach out to us that want to work with us at Guiding Star. And I always say, go get educated.
Yeah. And come to us. We are all about education, sharing the science. So we look forward to seeing you, the success of this podcast tonight. So grateful to have the opportunity. We look forward to seeing many of you at our future Facts events, whether our virtual conference or next year in Austin, Texas for our in-person, April 26th and 27th. So thanks again, Leah, for having me. And anybody wants to reach out, they can reach us at info@factsaboutfertility.org. We'd love to hear from you. So thank you.
So good. Thank you, Dr. Dwayne.
Thank you, Marguerite.
Good. Leah, I just have to pause and I think it can be okay, so I'm currently very pregnant, right? So it's like you could, of course, just be like, this is an isolated period of time. And I'll be honest, I think I have, until meeting you and getting to know your work, I didn't really think of my health at all holistically. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, I have eczema. Oh, I should probably go figure that out. You know what I mean? And like period or pregnancy, it's like this like limited 9-month period. And that's where my mind has been expanded so much, is that 9, like we're like 9 years old, like 9 years old, all the way for a very long time.
If we never take the time to teach our daughters what the normal ideal is for health, if no one ever tells her, like, you shouldn't have debilitating cramps with your period, if no one ever tells you that, you live with subpar health your entire life. So we have to start telling what is the ideal, what is the norm, and finding the doctors that can help us.
There's so much we're going to unpack this evening. Subpar health care, subpar health, but also just your mindset around yourself, your mindset around, we're going to be hearing from Dr. Lissy Wright Paula, who has such a passion for young girls being kind of having a wonder and an awe, as opposed to like a disgust or like a real big discomfort. And I just, these are messages I wish I had learned when I was a lot younger, and why I think Guiding Star has just such a role to play in America and beyond today. So we're going to move into our next section of tonight, and that is, I've used the word disgust, right? So the single most effective way to communicate that fertility is not a disease or something to be kind of threatened by. And so I was able to have a beautiful conversation with Grace Stark from Natural Womanhood. And I'm going to play an excerpt of her interview now, for the interest of time, because we had incredible conversations with some of our experts who couldn't join us live. We have made available the extended versions of these interviews at our completely free and brand new Guiding Star Academy. So wherever you are watching this, you can see a link where you can join us completely free inside of our academy, where you can gain access to this series of videos in their full length. So without further ado, I'm going to cue up our conversation here with the beautiful Grace from Natural Womanhood. What happens when we are catching women at, let's say 19, or let's say in their 20s, maybe when they are engaged, or even they've already been using artificial birth control?
So the health effects, again, are a great place to start, because first of all, a lot of women do experience side effects on hormonal birth control, and a lot of them are gaslighted about it. They go to their doctors and they hear the same refrain, oh, no, your birth control doesn't do that. But on a gut level, I think a lot of women know, and I really do think we're seeing that. The proof is in the pudding. You can read article after article about this trend of young women quitting the pill in droves, trying to get their IUDs taken out, just because they finally feel affirmed by some of the things that they're hearing coming from organizations like ours, from organizations like yours, and from all these other great sources, telling women, no, it's not in your head. And then I also think too, that when we are talking to young women who are engaged, who, or not even engaged, but, might be dating somebody seriously or in the dating mindset, that the vast majority of women do desire to become mothers someday, maybe not right around the corner, maybe not even, 10 years from now, but we never know, right? When that person is going to come along and make us say, oh, I want babies now. That's how it was for me once I met my husband, and so just communicating to them that it's a good idea to preserve your fertility, to treat it as the gift that it is, and acknowledge that birth control really doesn't do that. And then I think that the other thing that's really important, especially today, is speaking from a place of identity, right? We're in an identity crisis as a nation, as individuals, and especially so with sexuality and gender identity, right? I think young women have not been affirmed enough in their goodness as young women. And I think we have done a really big disservice to young women in not affirming their goodness for what they are and who they are. And we have to start speaking more strongly and with more impact about that, and contextualizing the experience of puberty, why you're getting, breasts, why you're getting hips, what all of that is geared towards. It's not, these are not male playthings. These are not to make you desirable to men. It's all geared towards this wonderful reality that the female sex is the one that can conceive, carry, birth, and nourish new life. So we have to speak more boldly about the beauty of that and our feminine identities.
What would you say is the single most effective way to communicate that fertility is not a disease and not something to be suppressed?
Kind of bandwagoning a little bit on that, like, smash the patriarchy kind of language, just to really point out to young women that everything that they've been sold about feminism is the exact opposite of empowering women. Pointing out to them, I have individuals in my life, friends, family members who have had IUDs or Nexplanon implants, who have had a really hard time getting their doctors to remove them. And I've just kind of pointed out to them, who's really in control of your body right now? And just kind of see them go, whoa, because I think when you're able to stand some of that messaging that we've all just been steeped in, we have to be honest with ourselves that we've all drank from this poisoned well, our entire lives. Some of us have taken sips, some of us have drank deeply, some of us have been able to detox, some of us haven't. But just acknowledging that we've all been steeped in this just kind of poisonous water that we're swimming in, and figure out a way to just have people see the light and see that really everything that they've been sold is a bill of goods, and that in fact it's quite the opposite of what they've been told, and that real true empowerment comes from recognizing the goodness of their female identity, and that the best way to be in charge and in control of their bodies is to be able to understand them and read the signs of their bodies. And it's really that simple.
What struck me about that interview is how much she talked, and I really want to encourage people to go watch the rest of it inside of our academy, was just this notion, Leah, and I've heard you say it so much all the time. You say it to your kids, you say it to me, just that your body is good, that you are good, that there's nothing wrong with you. And again, it just begs the question, where did this message come from that we're not good?
Well, gosh,
That's deeply theological, Lisa. I think we could go all the way back to the garden if we wanted to. This is the Garden of Eden, my friend. But no, she's right. There has been a version of this throughout all of humanity, all of mankind. There has been this striving to always be better. But what has been extremely toxic for women within the last 100 years, within the women's movement, has been this this misconception that we somehow have the control and therefore the obligation to take it upon ourselves to make ourselves better. And it's been a very grasping, and it's been a very unfulfilling attempt to make ourselves better, when the reality is we were good in the very beginning. We were always good. And so it's just been a very sad sort of thing, if you don't recognize that you're good, you're just going to always keep trying to find something that, I say it a lot, your body is not the problem, because oftentimes we misplace. We say, well, it's just something with my body. I got to fix it. I got to change it. If I was thinner, or if I had nicer hair or better lips or bigger boobs or whatever, like, I can change it. I can be better. And we know how that turns out. We often are not fulfilled by that. It's just, we're broken. Humanity is very broken. I think the media consumerism, you wouldn't ever buy a product if you thought you didn't need it, if you were good enough. So we're being fed it on a daily basis that we're not good enough.
And it strikes me, there's so many things we're talking about. We're talking about a mindset. So like, what are we thinking about? We're talking about literally anatomy and reality, how we function. And we're also talking about how we function in society. And so our next special guest, who's going to be joining us from a pre-recorded interview, and again, I really want to encourage everyone to watch the full, it's like I think almost 30-minute interview, because Jamie Rachi and I can talk forever, and she's such an engaging speaker. So I encourage people to log into our academy and check it out. But we talk about the structure of society and some of the structures that we have in place.
Yep.
That can, again, if we're not aware and we're not paying attention, and it's totally normal that sometimes we don't pay attention. We don't notice things, or we don't know things until we know them, right? So we have a great conversation. And so I'm very excited to bring to our empowering, authentic womanhood presentation tonight, in a pre-recorded interview, Jamie Rachi. There we go.
So I went and got my master's in community health education, and there were huge lightning bulb moments. Like, Lisa, it was like the clouds parted and everything made sense in the world. Like, even things that you're like, that has nothing to do with hormones, everything made sense. Like this moment where I was researching fertility awareness-based methods. So these are natural systems couples can use to avoid or achieve pregnancy naturally. You don't need to alter or suppress your body through birth control. You can understand the state of our health through understanding our cycle. So I was studying this topic, and it dawned on me, like, why aren't doctors telling us this when we go and get our exams, our well woman checks? I started understanding. I understood three things. One, doctors don't learn about this topic in med school. Two, these natural systems where we're tracking our cycle are actually effective when avoiding pregnancy. And then third, they're safe. They don't come with side effects.
You mentioned higher education, but we also know big pharma and the media all probably have a part to play in this, what I'll call a problem, right? Where exactly what you're describing, it's seemingly unattractive or something. There's something missing. What is it that is missing that these three big entities seem to think like, well, no, women shouldn't know this?
Sure. Yeah. I think what's missing is noise. It's noise. It's simply noise. What's missing is noise. It's people making a fuss about what they're not receiving. And so when we think about big pharma and we think about, what we see big pharma makes a lot of noise. They make a lot of noise. We can't help but notice it either consciously or subconsciously. And I think this story I want to share with you, it was from a few years ago, kind of perfectly proves this point. So I was on my way to the local grocery store and I'm driving up, and once I get into the front doors, all of a sudden, I have an overwhelming desire to purchase sushi, Lisa. It's all I could think about. I was going to the store for like milk and ketchup and bread and the basics, but all I wanted was sushi. It's all I wanted, okay? As I was leaving, after I got my items and I didn't get the sushi, lo and behold, as I was driving home, I saw like every 4 feet or so, there were little like signs in the median that said, sushi, there's a sushi sale, sushi, sushi, sushi. And I call this the sushi effect. I wanted sushi bad because I saw it not once, not twice, subconsciously. It was in my periphery and I consciously didn't know it, but my brain did. And it really did affect what I wanted. And so I think in this day and age, if we don't know what messages we're picking up on, and we don't know how those messages influence our decisions, that's a vulnerable place to be in, and not for the better. And so in terms of the answer, I think, well, if we know that these messages, like through, podcasts, through music, through movies, through TikTok, through social media, through all that does subconsciously affect us. And our brain believes what it sees the most. So if we want to kind of create the counterpunch to that noise, then we need to make just as much noise.
Let's talk about money. What role does profit and money have to do in this conversation?
Massive, so massive. So the answer about our fertility and the signs of our health, it's us. Like us, like we are the ones, our bodies physically. And with big pharma and with the dollar, anytime the dollar could be made, Lisa, the dollar is going to be made big time. And people like walking out with a script. It's psychology. Like, even if, like, I remember when I was little, I kind of was like totally cool with not feeling good because I got that grape Dimetap, like that my mom got to give me. I'm like, wow, this must mean I'm like something else. It's like I want something. And so in today's world, because we're always wanting something, that means that this market for big pharma is a pretty fertile market, because people like leaving with something. They like leaving with a script. They like leaving with something that might fix our problem immediately. The issue is like, and this is a good test too when we think about it. So when we go to the doctor, is it uncommon for us to be asked about maybe even our breasts? So like, as we're getting a little older in age, it's no secret that like around the age of 40, we need a mammogram, And so as we're getting to that age, that might be something that our doctor brings up. That's not a secret. Well, why isn't it a secret? Well, you can't make money from checking your breasts. So that might not be something that would be shied away from bringing to the table, right? Like, I'm just talking big picture. When it comes to our fertility cycle, there's a pill we can put on that, actually. You can't put a pill on your breast, but you can put a pill on our fertility. I want to say really loudly and proudly and clearly that there are so many amazing doctors that literally, like we said, they just don't even know. They just don't even know. And until we demand for more, they're not, no one would. If my business is running fine and there's not a high demand on something, then I'm not going to change what I do, So there are plenty of doctors who do care. It's just not enough noise coming in, toward them. So I do want to say that there are plenty of doctors that are wonderful, and I never want to put any doctors down, but I always want women to feel encouraged to interview their doctors.
The whole theme of this presentation is, what does it look like to practice pro-life pro-life healthcare? What does it look like practically? So Jamie, if you were to answer that question, what does pro-life medicine look like in practical application?
I love that question. Pro-life healthcare sees the whole woman. From womb to tomb, we've heard that a million times before, right? Pro-life, we think about what life is, and we have to think about when life begins. And when I think about life beginning, it happens in the fallopian tube, right? Egg and sperm meet, unique DNA is formed, life begins. And so again, if we're pro-life, it means pro-life even in the womb. It means pro-life even at conception. And so that is what pro-life means. Also, what pro-life healthcare means is not just serving the woman in crisis. While that's important, sometimes I think in society, we pigeonhole what crisis pregnancy means. So crisis pregnancy could be the pregnancy of the woman who has an unplanned pregnancy, but it could also be a woman who's pregnant with her 12th child or her 13th child, or who gets very sick or has a difficult time with postpartum depression. You know, those can also be seen as crises. And so I think that's important. And not even stopping with even this word crisis, because life should be positive. So even, you know, circle as pro-life individuals, to focus around the crisis, I think is not as necessary as focusing around the celebration. Let's honor, let's celebrate that. Let's honor that new life from womb to tomb, and not just for the woman that, yes, for the woman who can't afford it, and yes, for the woman who can, you know, even with miscarriage, infant loss, being with that woman, no matter what her wallet or her checkbook says. I mean, I think sometimes in the nonprofit world, we get so stuck, but we can't change a narrative if we're only serving a subset of women. All women deserve care, all women. So even in the nonprofit that I founded, Guiding Star Cedar Valley, our first clients were women who could afford it. And guess what? We built our nonprofit and they were our first donors, because they were the ones who saw what kind of care we provide. And now we have more income. We can spread out. We can serve many women, and we all can be there together. It doesn't have to be like only this center on this side of town. No, that's not how we change a culture. And that's not what a movement is.
All the women. I love it. You mentioned something that I want to pick up on, viewing birth as celebration. And rather than a medical condition, how can we view birth as a celebration as opposed to a condition? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, so birth. Okay, so I'm going to say pregnancy first, and then I'm going to say birth. So pregnancy first, what I love, even if a woman, you know, loses her child, which is so hard. And I myself, again, from earlier, just shared that I've had a miscarriage. I love thinking about how we can celebrate a new life, no matter how small, because when a new life enters the eternal cosmos, when there's conception, again, unique DNA is formed, that means that soul changes the eternal cosmos forever. I heard that quote from like maybe Archbishop Fulton Sheen, and I tried looking it up later and I can't remember who said it, but I just love thinking about that conception changes the eternal cosmos forever, because there was once not that soul and now there is. Changes no matter how long that baby lives. That's incredible to me. So that's step one. Like, so we carry our babies through our pregnancy, and then when we birth our baby, oh my gosh. And again, there's trauma around, you know, delivery at times, and which is why we need Guiding Star centers, so we can support the women who struggle, my heavens. But when we birth the child, and I'm talking now about first time mothers who are, that mom is also a newborn mom. And so I love that idea. There's a newborn baby, but there's a newborn mom, like that woman. And she was a mom her whole time as she was carrying her baby. But like, just that idea of thinking, wow, like I'm newly born into this role. And again, we can honor that too in pregnancy, but I think that's a really beautiful way to celebrate.
So good. If you could get a message across to the entire pro-life movement in America, in regards to what we've been talking about today, what would that message be?
Abortion is the symptom of an underlying problem. If we're only focusing on abortion, we're not going to fix the abortion problem. We're just not. The only way to address the problem of abortion is to teach women about the value and dignity of first her fertility and her womanhood, her hormones. How does her body work? I don't know. I don't know how my body works. That's maybe how typically women just have no clue. And it's often because doctors aren't taught in med school, like we said. So if we can start really educating even young girls to honor their womb and to honor this concept of new life, oh my gosh, it would be a completely different scenario if, again, that woman finds herself in an unplanned pregnancy or whatever else. So abortion is the symptom of an issue that we all, as pro-lifers, we need to address on the front end. And that's why we need Guiding Star centers, because they provide fertility care and support and education. They provide pregnancy support, breastfeeding support. They provide miscarriage, infant loss, mothering. I mean, every aspect of womanhood is supported. And that's what we need, not just one part, all of it.
Yeah, Leah. I want to pause there for a minute and just sort of let people in on the background of Guiding Star. Some people might not know the story. This was a dream in your heart. And just very briefly, take us back to where this all started.
Oh gosh, well, it's over a decade old now, which, I mean, it's actually coming up on 15 years old. It was when I was working as a campus minister and was running the Newman Center at the University of Minnesota Duluth, and a newlywed young mother, young wife, then became a young mother very quickly. And it was in those conversations with young women on a college campus where, people that have been raised in the faith, are involved in their faith, a faith that is pro-life, a faith that is, pro-fertility, pro-family, pro-womanhood. And yet I was talking with young women who were very scared, very nervous, very uneducated about their bodies. And a lot of the conversations that I had, as a pregnant and then breastfeeding and then pregnant again, as their campus minister, just a couple years older than them, started to really, really bother me when I saw even the people that have been raised to be life affirming, the people that have been raised to say yes to life in our culture, are ill prepared and terrified. So working with young girls, young college age women, some of them that were dealing with mistimed pregnancies or were becoming sexually active and considering birth control in these conversations. And I was just recognizing this doesn't have to be a decision that comes from their faith. This is a decision that can be found. This is a way of life that you can come to through reason and logic by just looking at your body and caring for it well. And so that's really where the Guiding Star was born. I think coming out of campus ministry and as a mom and experiencing birth and experiencing terrifying births, not being well prepared, and wanting to really trust and understand how God made me, it just lit a fire. And when I, finally kind of said, this is true, like, this is good, this is true, this is beautiful, I want to share this. And it was just a proposition to the world. And we put up a website and said, can we do better for women's healthcare? And people like Jamie Rachi in Cedar Valley, Iowa, called us up and said, how do we do this? And we said, let's figure it out.
I love it. Anna Shepard here is saying, I've been hearing about Guiding Star Project for years. I remember reading about it in Ireland and loving the idea. Ooh. Did you ever picture, Leah, what Guiding Star would turn into today? 8 centers across the United States, very much these holistic places, these one-stop shops. Has this surpassed your expectations, or is this exactly what you pictured? Tell us.
I mean, well, it's funny because when you're asked to do something that is way beyond your abilities, you kind of just are like, oh, I don't know how that's going to happen. You're like, I really don't know how that's going to work. But yet the vision has always been that we radically change our entire women's health system. And so 8 centers feels like a really good start. It's a nice conversation starter, but we're not even close.
We're not.
We're going to this is going to get big and fun.
It's going to get really big and really fun. One of the themes in all of the interviews, and again, I really want to encourage people, go log into our academy. There's a link right below where you're watching this. It's completely free, and watch these interviews. And I was particularly touched by Dr. Elizabeth Wright Paula. I have to think about it because the pronunciation, she's German, and so it's spelled very different. But she gives such an impassioned plea, almost like, but just so passionate about why this matters at age 9, or as young as age 9. And it's a common theme we've been hearing throughout the interviews tonight. This knowledge is power. And can we have this knowledge younger? What might happen to our girls? Leah, tell us how you came to know Dr. Lissy, as she is affectionately referred to, and her work in the cycle show.
I was able to meet Lissy, Dr. Lissy, through one of our Guiding Star Center directors a few years ago, Carrie Biedner, who is now our National Cycle Show Director, brought this program forward to us and said, hey, this has been happening in Germany and in England and in Europe for quite a while now. They've got this program called the Cycle Show, and it's in the schools, and it's this 5-hour workshop, and it is a giant floor uterus. I was like, what? And then started looking at it and got her book and read her What's Going On in My Body book, and just realized this is something we need here. And so Carrie had really done a lot of the legwork to bring this program to the United States. Guiding Star was able to sign an agreement with My Fertility Matters, is the name of the nonprofit in Europe, to have an exclusive license here in the United States to do the cycle show. So we're able to bring the cycle show around the country. But Lissy, she's just a special, special soul. So I'm excited that you were able to coordinate an interview with her. I know it's like 2 a.m. or something in Germany. So she's not live. She's recorded.
Let's hear a few words from Dr. Lissy.
They themselves have never learned to talk about this subject. They don't have the appropriate words, and they don't have the appropriate language. And as you know, the biological terms for male and female sexual organs are by far not designed to evoke wonder and appreciation. And we know of our experience, when talking in a not child-friendly way, the kids turn away because they find this topic somewhat disgusting, or even feel overstrained. And anyone who pays a sensitive attention to the kids' reaction knows this. So therefore, the first priority must be to meet the children in their world, to explain things in an age-appropriate manner. But how can mothers take on this task in a good way if they themselves had bad experiences themselves, or have a negative attitude towards their own bodies? But of course, they don't want to pass these negative feelings to their daughters, of course. And so they find it difficult to speak positively about something they themselves do not perceive as positive.
Let's talk about how we also talk to girls as young as 9. You have developed something very unique with very unique materials in your cycle show presentation for young girls.
Let me first start with an aspect how girls experience and evaluate their own body and their changes during puberty has a big influence on their self-image and their attitude to life. And the most important thing is that they accept themselves as a woman and feeling comfortable in their body. This is a crucial developmental task for every woman. And supporting them in this means preparing them in good time. That means already at the beginning of puberty. That was my first thought. Beginning at the age of 14 is far too late, because the optimal state, the optimal time is at this stage of 9 and 10, because they are still open and curious about the physical changes that will come to them, and because they can get excited and can still be amazed like children. And beyond that, it's the optimal time because they have hardly any prejudices and bad experiences yet. So they are open to the wonder and to the miracle of life. Therefore, we have to start in this early age. And moreover, quite a few girls already perceived something is happening in my body. My hair is getting greasier and I have to take a shower more often because I smell so strange, and so, a lot of these things. And this is the time when this topic gets interesting. And without sufficient knowledge about what is happening, and this is very important, why it is happening, the girls might feel insecure and scared. And often they get the explanation, this is normal. But this only say this is normal does not contribute to a deeper understanding and a positive acceptance. Here I want to introduce our basic philosophy. I can only protect what I value and respect. And in terms of fertility, that means what matters is not to protect girls from their fertility, but to protect their fertility. Every creature, every man, every woman, every girl, every boy, how precious we are. And that right from the beginning, every one of us is a double champion. It's the winner of the sperm of 300 million sperm. You and everyone was the winner sperm, but this is only half of the building plan. We also were the queen egg, selected from 400,000 eggs. And we are, in the first second of our life, double champion. And we are double champion as we are, with all our talents and good things, but also with all our weaknesses. We are precious.
You just love her.
Could you not listen to her all day? Like, and honestly, like, we had a good almost 30-minute conversation. And I just was like, keep talking, please. Like, that passion did not let up for the entire conversation.
I love her. She's the best. I mean, she just is so excited about little girls loving their bodies.
And the thing that I really, and Jamie picked up a similar concept when she was talking about that, I think the Fulton Sheen quote, I think, but just that we are the product of the winner sperm and like the precious egg.
The queen.
I've never heard a sperm and an egg referred to like that, but it's, upon reflection, it is kind of cool.
Right? And really, when we're talking about building a culture of life, like value for every little life, we have to really recognize just how precious and how many things had to go exactly right for that champion sperm to meet that queen egg and make this unique, irreplaceable human being. When we have an understanding and appreciation for that, changes everything.
Let us know if you are enjoying this topic tonight. Is this interesting to you? Is this stuff you already know? Is this touching your heart? So curious. Keep the comments coming. I want to review where we have been. We started our evening talking about why abortion is so widely accepted as healthcare and how to change this narrative. We talked about why doctors don't learn about more natural approaches to fertility and what to do about it, and Dr. Duane and all of her work. We talked about the single most effective way to communicate that fertility is not a disease. It's only to be celebrated. It doesn't have to be suppressed. And we talked about the sneaky tricks that big pharma, the media, higher institutions sometimes can kind of employ to make women feel inadequate. I really want to encourage people. Jamie goes into what it looks like to interview your doctor and to kind of get more on the same page when it comes to their beliefs about birth control. And then we talked about essential concepts to teach a girl as young as 9 and what to do when we're uncomfortable, potentially as our mom. And that's the thing too that I find so interesting. All is not lost. If you have older daughters and perhaps didn't have this conversation before because you didn't have the skills, that's okay. We've got resources. Dr. Lissy has resources. Many of the presenters here tonight have resources. I want to go ahead, Leah.
I was going to say, I think we actually have a download specifically about this in our academy, like how to talk to your daughter about her cycle. So if you're really not sure how to do that, log into our academy and download that, because it's just some really great tips to know if she's ready. Are you ready? How to make this go well.
Absolutely. Teaching these young girls, Laura says, is so special. Before 11 years old is so important. That phrase, we can only protect what we value and respect. Anna Shepard shares Canavox. Yes, this is an organization I know very well. Canavox also has great resources. And Roseanne asks, how can we get the cycle show to come to us? Is there training to teach it? How can we get a Guiding Star program in our area? Leah, answer that question briefly.
Well, for the cycle show, we'd be happy to get it to your area. You're going to need to connect with Carrie Biedner, who is our cycle show instructor. I think poor timing on our part. I think her monthly cycle show call was tonight. So I think there's some people on the cycle show call tonight. She does the call every month to do a parent presentation to orient you to the program. But you can head over to our website and hit the cycle show and contact Carrie anytime to get information about how to book a cycle show. You don't need to have a Guiding Star Center in your community to bring cycle show in. Ideal audience, I think, is about 15 girls between the ages of 9 and 12, and that's a rocking good party. So a lot of fun.
I love it. We highlighted in Dr. Lissy's presentation there this concept of just how valuable we are. And if you were able to tune in to the very beginning of this webcast, we shared a video that we created that featured several women, but one of the very special stories is a beautiful girl named Abby Dahl. And just in case you missed it, I'll just recap it. She was 17 and pregnant and came into Guiding Star Siouxland. We saw our Guiding Star director, Kaylee, made a comment earlier. And she came into that center to get some help. When I watched the video, I had so many questions. Like, I just was like, I need to know the end of the story. We know she chose life. We know she chose adoption. But I was like, what else? How much is she in the baby's life? What does life look like for her now? How has this changed her? And so I had to get her to be a part of tonight's presentation. So get ready for some beautiful thoughts from Abby Dahl, who chose life at 17 and what that has done for her life today. What does your relationship with Levi look like today?
When I placed him in adoption, you sign like these papers that allow a certain amount of visits per year. And the family I chose, they go above and beyond with those visitations. I am involved in Levi's life in all areas, and I could not be more grateful for that. I get to watch him grow up. So
there might be a young woman who is in a similar situation to you watching this right now, where she is young or feels young or doesn't feel equipped to have a baby and is considering adoption. What encouragement would you give her?
I would tell her that she is strong. Carrying your baby for that 9 months is not easy, especially as a young gal. And I don't know what environment or community she finds herself in, but the outside looks can definitely affect someone. When I was pregnant, I wore a ring on my left finger. I call it my Levi ring. And it was just to help, like, the stares. Like they would look and see that I have a ring, and then it would be okay. But I didn't let it affect me. I think I view teenage pregnancy as a miracle. I don't think that it happens to everyone, but I think when it does happen, I think it happened for a purpose. So I think I would just encourage the girl to keep her head up, and it's not the end of the world. It's 9 months. It's a chapter in your book. It's not the title.
Sometimes, Abby, when we go through trial, it changes us. What have you seen has been like the biggest change in you?
I think I became more confident in myself, and I became more independent. I was a very dependent person. It gives you a different type of strength, for sure. At least for me, it did. Whether you're 13 years old, 17 years old, or 45 years old, I think God places babies in wombs for a reason.
What is the reason you believe Levi came into your life?
I think Levi saved me from a pathway that I was going down that I should not have been going down. I think I was going right, and then Levi helped me turn left. He's definitely a gift of life. And I can't imagine my life without him.
Abby, you have an incredible story. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. Is there anything else you wanted to add that you didn't get a chance to add?
I'm very grateful for Guiding Star. This whole situation, my situation would not have gone the way it did, or smoothly as it did. Yeah, I'm very grateful that this world has something like Guiding Star, because they educated me in ways I didn't know I needed to be educated on.
You shared with us that Guiding Star benefited you in a time that you really needed guidance. Why do you think in the United States it might be helpful to have more Guiding Star centers?
Well, if you think about it, there's hospitals every town, every city, and people go there for help. I think women's health is not valued unless there's somewhere for it to be valued. And I think Guiding Star values women and their health.
I can't help but get choked up every time. I've listened to this interview, and it's extensive. There's a whole other, interview that you can log into the Academy and watch. Like, she's poised, she's brave, she's so concise. I was like, how are you this concise at this age? Like, she's just incredible, an incredible human being. And but I want to pick up on what she just said there, Leah, that women's healthcare can't be valued, or something like that, like without a place to be valued.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to respond to that.
I think it's so important that physical locations, like the physicality, that's when a movement really comes to life. Like, an idea can float around and you can say these ideas and these thoughts, but when it actually materializes in a physical location where you can go there, we are incarnate beings. Like, and as women, we're made for community and relationship with one another. We're made to not be alone. We're not islands. And so to have a place where we actually come together and be in community with one another, that it affirms us in a way that, no, you do matter. I see you. I touch you. I hold you. I care for you. I hold your baby. It's just what she's getting to there is, there's a loneliness, in so many places in our country. And like she said, yeah, there are hospitals in every town. Yeah, there are places to get healthcare, but is it truly holistic healthcare where I see you as a human being and I understand your need and I'm here beside you, walking with you in a community? And that's what she's really getting at there is We need community in our communities. We need community centers, places to gather.
Let's pivot now to the centers. And I really want to remind people we've got two very exciting announcements. But if you are interested in physical centers, we've got something really fun to share with you. So let's pivot now the conversation into full spectrum wraparound healthcare, why this is the most pro-life approach to medicine and what this looks like practically. And to help us have this conversation, I had a really, really great conversation with Cheney Mullins-Gooley. Is that it? Did I do it right?
Yeah, you got it. She's married now. I just always think of her as Cheney Mullins, but she's married. She's Mrs. Gooley now.
Mrs. Gooley. Leah, how did you get to know Mrs. Gooley, who is a representative of her plan?
Yeah, I met Cheney actually when she worked for a great pro-life medical practice. Several years ago, actually, she worked for Dr. John Brachelski out at Tepeyac in Virginia. And Cheney worked with him. And I've just always been a really huge fan of his practice as an OBGYN, a former abortionist who transitioned his entire practice as an entire care to recognizing what full spectrum women's healthcare should look like. Cheney worked for him. And that's where I met her. And then she moved on to her plan and has really been instrumental in creating this amazing directory of resources to wrap around women that might be in a challenging pregnancy situation. And so we've just been in touch for ages, become good friends. We have a lot of text message conversations about the pro-life movement and where things need to go. And so I respect her tremendously because she is on the ground visiting dozens of, pro-life centers every year. She knows the movement better than anyone.
Let's hear from Cheney. Why is unity in the pro-life movement essential, especially today?
What a great question, Lisa. So what is needed for these women is comprehensive care. So we often say at Her Plan that we want to help them both and we want to collaborate for comprehensive care. And so the woman needs more than one care provider, right? She might need her good pro-life doctor, but she might also need that lawyer, that special needs support group, that NICU support group, that drug rehab. She might need multiple providers. So if providers aren't working together, if we're not unified, if we're not having a comprehensive approach to defining the pro-life safety net, then that means women are going to suffer and their needs aren't going to be met. So if we keep that focus on moms and babies and women and families, it necessitates us knowing about each other, working together for a life-affirming culture that does not support or refer for abortion, but provides the positive alternatives of true care.
If you had to say what you want your legacy to be, Cheney, and Her Plan, but maybe let's just speak you personally, like, what do you want your legacy piece to be in this conversation of pro-life healthcare?
Well, I think it's right along with what you teach at Guiding Star, which is that pregnancy is natural and beautiful, and the pregnancy is not the crisis. At Her Plan, we help people realize it's not a crisis pregnancy in the sense that the pregnancy is not the crisis. The crisis is something going on in her life. Women need help. Pregnant women are just like any other women that's facing complicated situations in her life. And we have to address those underlying reasons why she might be seeking an abortion. And so if pregnancy is not the crisis, let's fix the real crisis and not make babies or pregnancy into a crisis.
Let's talk briefly about what this looks like. What does wrap around healthcare look like? Why is this the most pro-life approach to medicine? And what does it look like practically?
So practically speaking, if you're in a healthcare facility and you're receiving those medical services, it means that that medical office, just like Guiding Stars do, either co-locates their services with other types of care providers or they directly refer out. So co-location or direct referral. So co-location means sharing space. It means bringing in that counselor, bringing in that infant loss support, bringing in that fertility teacher to share your space. Women are already comfortable going to your clinic for whatever their initial service was. Let's continue to offer them more services at the same location where they've already figured out where to go, how to access the service. They've already gotten to know you. It's easier for them. Let's take one load off with the questions of transportation and childcare. You have Child Watch at Guiding Star to take away that barrier to accessibility for services. So let us co-locate as best as we can, working together and finding these comprehensive one-stop shop women's centers. And then where that's not possible, let's know the local resources. And that's what her plan does for you.
We were talking before we hit record. You have a background in architecture. I have a background in interior design. What does pro-life medical, or how does being pro-life translate into space?
Oh, my favorite question. So I studied both sociology and architectural history at UVA, and I really embraced this term sociology of spaces. What does it feel like when you walk into a space? And it's so important for care providers of all times to put themselves in a woman's shoes and think about what she sees, what she encounters. Does she feel welcome? Does she feel like she knows where to go? Does she feel like it's a hospitable place? Is there something for the children to do like there is at a Guiding Star Center? Can we incorporate those principles of beauty and hope and joy, even in the way we're presenting both the design and the layout of our buildings? And I think Guiding Star is really exploring that in really exciting ways. And it's a challenge for all the types of providers, medical, social, and material, to really think about that as they're presenting their spaces.
What are we missing out on if we only focus on abortion?
So I think the assault that has been, the movement has been accused for so long of only caring about the baby, right? Or only caring about the moment of a pregnancy decision. But it's not just about that. It's also about what it now means for a woman to be a mother. And so are we able to care beyond that moment of a pregnancy decision? Not that one organization can or should do it all, but that we can work together to provide all the needs. And so that means caring about pregnancy all the way through, and birth, and parenting, and adoption, and foster care, and children's care. It is a holistic picture. It doesn't mean that every issue under the sun has to be a pro-life issue, but it means that pro-life issues are all those that involve moms and babies and all their needs, pregnancy, postpartum, and beyond.
If you could get a message across, and just one, to the entire pro-life movement in America, regarding what we're talking about right now, what would that message be?
The pro-life movement doesn't end when abortion becomes illegal. We are just beginning. The pro-life movement is not only the law, it includes the law, but it also includes the service side of the movement. And I think it's just wonderful that people are waking up to that donors are realizing the importance of still continuing to support pregnancy clinics and women's clinics. So I'm really excited to see that, and I think it's only going to increase.
I want to highlight, wasn't that so good?
So solid.
Like so good. So good. I want to highlight something that we just had a total fun conversation, because again, I worked for many years in interior design. She has a background in architectural history. And so I actually want to showcase some of our Guiding Star centers and how we exhibit or live out a pro-life mentality, even in our hospitality, in our design, in all the things.
It's a culture of life. Like, you got to elevate. Oh, yes.
This is Guiding Star Lakota. Can we all see this? Very good. This is Guiding Star Lakota. This is is this our newest center? No, I guess Memphis is newer.
Well, this is the first from the ground up built location. Like this was a rebuild that just really opened only about less than 2 years ago, a 10,000 square foot building.
And it has a stunning, lobby, stunning childcare, child watch. And as you can see here, they set up their donations, material goods, like a boutique. So it really feels like this very hospitable experience. When we were there just recently, they had a whole section that was, fall themed, Halloween themed, just for a really, really great experience for moms. Here is Guiding Star Siouxland. Kaylee was commenting in the comments. Thank you for watching. Look at that milk.
Yeah, that's the fridge or the freezer. They have a milk bank, a milk sharing program there, which is incredible. Just coordinating that milk sharing between moms is such a service.
Oh my word. But again, like look at how it's presented beautifully. The items are kind of, again, like a boutique experience for a mom. You're not kind of sifting through bins, it's very hospitable in that way. Guiding Star Memphis, this is the one that has just newly went through a renovation. And as you can see, hospitality is just so important. So when our clients come into one of our 8 centers across the United States, they're greeted with coffee, they're greeted with water, there's a comfortable place to sit, there's a cute place for a child to, do their exploratory thing and have all kinds of fun. And then Guiding Star Marshalltown, they're moving into a new space, aren't they, Leah?
Yeah, I was going to say, and actually I think some of these Memphis pictures are from the old space too. They just moved into a big brand new space. So some of these are, we're upgrading.
And here's Cedar Valley. Oh my gosh, look how cute Cedar Valley is. Look at, again, we want, okay, for example, I today went to my midwife appointment with 2 small children in tow, and it was, there was no Guiding Star child watch. How convenient is it when you can come and that additional barrier or that additional, thought of, oh my gosh, how am I going to get my care? Who's going to watch my child? Is removed.
Yeah, I'm noting a theme here. You're all of these. You got the child watch right set in front and center. I'm noticing a theme for you, Lisa.
I mean, I have so many of them, Leah. Here we go.
There's a lot of kids. You will fill the child watch.
And here's Guiding Star Tampa. We're going to be hearing from our Guiding Star Tampa director in just a minute. And we're just so excited for.
Oh, darn. The one center I would love. I did actually a walkthrough of it just about 2 weeks ago. Guiding Star El Paso.
I know. I'm sorry, El Paso.
No, that's fine. El Paso has done a fabulous job. I just want to note. Actually, Lisa, the very first thing you ever did for Guiding Star, what was this, 5 years ago, maybe?
No.
We actually contracted with you as a interior designer, to do our interior design layout for all of our centers, our design guide. And it's a beautiful, I mean, you're passed with HGTV and just the work that you've done. You created you took what was our aesthetic that I gave you? I said mid-century modern boho.
Which is a really Leah Jacobson combination.
Hey, your earrings are mid-century modern boho. We're getting to you. I know it.
But it really is such a pleasure to, have been contracted in that capacity. And now, 5 years later, sitting here as your, partner, and I'm very humbled that this is what I get to do every day.
I would say a couple of our centers have done a fantastic job just putting your design guide into practice. Wakota, the interior, El Paso's interior, several of them have just really taken exactly from your design guide and made it real. So they feel so nice.
It's so fun. I love it. Cheney. Hi, Cheney. Mid-century modern boho. I have a new lifestyle. I love it so much. Well, we have been talking about and teasing out this incredible announcement, Leah.
Yeah.
It is time. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. I have created something fun. Are you ready? Hold on. I've created something fun for the occasion, for our big announcement. Hold on. Here it comes. Here it comes. Here it comes.
What is this?
Big announcement.
It's time. Just so you all know, it's time.
Yeah. what are we doing in this next phase? We've all night long talked about social structures that exist. Some of the mindset challenges or the mindset shifts we need to make in the medical and the pro-life movements. What awareness we need to have around our bodies, and the history and the heart behind Guided Star and why it was created. What are we moving into in 2024 and beyond?
In 2024, we have made the commitment here at Guiding Star to finally incorporate birth services into our Guiding Star Center locations. And so Guiding Star locations from here on out, as we open our new Guiding Star centers, they will be Guiding Star accredited birth centers. So not only can you go there to get your fertility care as young as age 9 and to learn how to chart your cycle and to take your childbirth preparation class and do your lactation consulting, you'll be able to give birth on site at our Guiding Star centers that we will be opening starting in 2024 and beyond. So
it's one of the components that, and I really want to encourage people to watch the entire interview I did with Cheney. It's one of those components of the one-stop shop or the direct referral, but we're bringing it all in one spot. And our hope is that we are able to, in every state that will allow us, we will.
That's the challenge.
We've learned that there are quite a few different things. But so we wanted to have this conversation about the truth about birth centers, because when I heard the word birth center, I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit like, well, what exactly is a birth center? What are we like? How does it work? Is it different than a hospital? What's the difference in a midwifery approach? And so we thought it would just be so natural and so awesome to welcome our Guiding Star Tampa director, Tammy Masu. Now, Tammy has like 16 letters after her name. So I'm gonna let Tammy introduce her designation and just, Tammy, come on down and tell us.
She's a midwife. Tammy, tell us, what type of midwife are you?
Not so many. Go ahead, Tammy, tell us your designation and all the things.
Well, overall, I'm a certified nurse midwife, so CNM. But I'm an advanced practice registered nurse, so APRN. I received my master's, so MSN, and that's it. I've got my BSN.
And wait, mother of how many?
Mother of 13, grandmother of 25 and counting.
25 and counting. Okay. And how many births, Tammy, would you say you have done in your career?
So somebody had asked me that once, and I stopped counting at 1,000 in the hospital setting because it was just, I hit 1,000. I was like, okay, I've hit 1,000. And I did some birth center birth back in 2012 through 2014. But since I've been back to the birth center, I've done 78 in the last 2 years. So
amazing. Let's talk about the truth about birth centers. What are some of the misconceptions people might have around giving birth in a birth center?
I think the biggest misconception is that they're not safe. You know, that's one of the biggest things that people are like, oh, they're just not safe, and that's a really, really big misconception. We take care of low risk women. So that starting out, so many reasons that women need to be in the hospital is that they're higher risk. They have high blood pressure, they have gestational diabetes, they have, things that we can't take care of, in a birth center setting. We can take care of those in the hospital setting as a certified nurse midwife. But in the birth center, we want very low risk women so that we start out in a very healthy place. And so that's probably the biggest misconception. And then the next thing would be there's no pain relief. And If you're talking about an epidural, you're right. You're not going to get an epidural in the birth center. But as a midwife, our bag is chock full of things that we can do to help you through this time that millions of women have done before you and ease you into that birth. So I did all of my births were natural, unmedicated, and vaginal deliveries. And I will tell you that they are the most empowering just experiences of my life. And I wouldn't change that for anything. I was excited during labor and birth. I was excited for those. The first one, I was hesitant, what am I going to expect? But I hadn't put anything in my body for 9 months besides, vitamins and good things. I may have had 1 soda the whole pregnancy. I may have taken 2 Tylenol because I really didn't want anything in my body that could potentially harm the baby. So I was very aware. And then I thought, why am I going to put something in my body right before I give birth that could affect this baby? And so, I researched on how I could do it without that medication. So,
Tammy, I don't know if I've told you this. I've birthed 11 children. Well, this is 11. Okay. And my first 7 were epidural in a hospital. And to be very frank, it was just because I didn't even really consider any other options. It was just sort of,
that's what people do.
Yeah, I was successful. I used the same OB. The nurses got to know me very well because I was always there. And then when I was in America, I lived a little farther away from a hospital. And that had a little bit of a factor. And I was, these are babies now 8 and 9. And so, of course, my body knew exactly what to do. By the time I got to the hospital, I was 10 centimeters almost both times. I said to my husband, we need to not be 10 centimeters walking in. I was like, let's try for 7. Let's try to walk in the hospital at 7. So we were able to do that with baby number 9. But I just agree with you. It was so empowering, and my recovery was so different. Okay, so what can people expect when they give birth at a birth center?
So a birth center, you can expect that you're number 1 with us. And the care is individualized. We listen to you. We empower you. We allow the woman to make their own decisions. So a medical model is more, this is what is recommended and this is what we're going to do. And at a birth center with midwives, it's more, this is what's recommended. This is why. This is the risks, the benefits, and the alternatives. What would you like to do? And so we give an empowerment to that woman to that's her baby. And I will remember giving birth to my very first baby. And they took the baby away. I had held that baby in my body for 9 months. And all you want to do is hold and see what you just did. And they took that baby away, and medical procedures and, shots and eye ointment. And I was very let down, so empowering, so excited, but very let down. And this was back in 1982 with my first. And they had been trying to the whole time. The doctors ordered this pain medicine. The doctors ordered, no, I don't want it. No, I don't want it. Well, then I hit transition. Okay, Mom, will you please tell them I don't want it? And so right after the baby was born, all these wonderful feelings of euphoria and anticipation, and they put the medicine in my IV without even asking. because that's what they did. And so I feel like that experience was taken away. And we hear that from so many women. They don't even understand what they're given because it's just standard protocol. And so in a birth center, we give you the options and we talk to you about why, and women come to their own decisions. So
tell us why they're safe, Tammy.
Well, I call them little hospitals. No, we can't do a C-section there, but you are very low risk if you're in a birth center. And we are very well prepared. I am more prepared to take care of a at-risk mom and baby in a birth center than I am in the hospital. In the hospital, you maybe had a drill once a year. Oh, okay, that's what we're supposed to do. In the birth center, we do drills every other month, and they're real drills. Like, okay, this is the scenario, and we have fake blood, and we have real IVs, and we don't stick them in the arm, but we do stick them on. We are very real, and we have great actors, and they love to play mom and husband and mother-in-law that's trying to get in the way. So you're very, very, very prepared. Like, I feel like my neonatal resuscitation program in the hospital was, once every other year, and that's it. Here, you are drilled on it. And so everybody knows what they're supposed to do. So we in the birth center are prepared to stabilize. So we stabilize and transport. So basically, we do what a level 1 hospital would do that doesn't have a NICU. They stabilize and transport. So, we know who to call if there's an emergency, and true emergencies where we have to call EMS, very, very, very low. I'd say maybe about 3%. The others go by private vehicle, and typically it's because their labor has been greater than 36, 48 hours, and they're going for pain relief. And we have a great relationship with the hospital. It's not that hospitals are bad. It's not that doctors are bad. It's a very good transfer of care. They have things that we can't do, and we have things that they can't do. So we're very patient. We let those moms labor, and we give them the tools that they need to do it.
Beautiful.
Tammy, does it make sense to you that we would have all these things in one place? The fertility,
Oh, yes. Oh, my
goodness. A typical
goodness.
birth center, tell me, a typical birth center is very focused on birth, correct?
Yes, it's very focused on birth. But these women, this is birth. If you think about, you both have children, and if you think about that birth experience, I've always felt like it should be expanded. It should be expanded. It shouldn't just be a birth experience for a day. It should be a birth experience for a lifetime. And you should be bringing your kids back to that birth center to be taught, boys and girls, this is what is natural and normal, and this is why we go here. And that's why Guiding Star just makes sense, because it's all in one place. It's all there, and it all flows so seamlessly. So
Tammy, you are a delight. I love your passion for birth. I love you have a very enthusiastic, but also no nonsense. You're like, this just makes sense. And we're getting lots of fun chatter in the chat. Rebecca Ann says, I love this so much. Anna Shepard says, sounds great, Tammy. Well done with your work. And we're just very excited about our big breaking news, big announcement. Tammy, thank you so much for your work in Tampa. And we look forward to continuing to work with you further. Leah, why is this? We have one more special guest coming and one more very important announcement, but just briefly, why are you so excited about birth centers?
Well, to be quite frank, this is finally the full circle moment, because the original vision for Guiding Star, those of you that have followed us for more than a decade, that have seen our little floor plan of what a center is, it has always had birth services. It has always had a birthing suite in our center. And I was sharing this with you, like, I've kicked myself over the years that we've kind of let that go. It's very new, specifically for the pro-life movement. It has always made perfect sense to me. That's why I was part of the Guiding Star vision, but we kind of let it slip to the back burner for many years. And so to me, it just feels finally right. It is time. I think maybe the idea was a little before its time. I don't know that people really understood that a birth center is truly the opposite of an abortion clinic. A woman is pregnant and that baby is going to come out no matter what. And it can come out, through natural means of, maybe it is a miscarriage or maybe it's a stillbirth and it's very sad and tragic. Or it could be a very violent birth resulting in the baby's death. Or it could be a very beautiful birth that's very sacred. It's going to happen no matter what. And we should be in this space. We should be here walking alongside her because she is a mother and her future decision making about future pregnancies is going to be affected greatly by this birth experience. So we don't often call abortions births, but they are. It's a type of birth. It's a violent and it's a sad end. But you're still a mother. So let's make it beautiful. Let's make it sacred. Let's make it amazing. Let's empower her and just let her know she's so strong.
So now it's time for our second announcement. And I'm really excited, Leah, because we had a development in the course of our evening. So we have, thanks to some very generous donors, been able to create a match fund to help us do this in America. We want a Guiding Star Center in every single United States. So far, we've got 8. We need a few more to get there. And what I was going to put on the screen, and I'm still going to put it, was that we have secured a $25,000 match. So any donations that come in after tonight, all the way to our match deadline of November 3rd at midnight, I was originally going to announce a $25,000 match. But I am delighted to share that literally in the course of this evening, this number has increased. And so we are now at a $30K match.
Oh,
that come in tonight through to our deadline of November 3rd at midnight will be matched up to $30,000. So this is the time to make your donation count. This is the time, if you have ever thought of giving to Guiding Star, to perhaps discern that this is the time because it will be doubled. And I want us to just, our final very, very special guest I want to bring on is the beautiful Arena Grosu. And forgive me, your last name, just say your other last name.
I'm married too.
Hi. My married name now.
The beautiful Arena Grosu Agnew. I'm sorry, my little Facebook Live button is covering your last name. Arena is a board member here at the Guiding Star Project. She also wears many different hats, including PR and working in various, in a, what's the fellowship that you're in, Arena?
I'm with the Discovery Institute Center on Human Exceptionalism, and I run my own company as well, doing policy work and strategy. And I am pregnant as a first-time mom, so
it's perfect timing. Perfect timing.
I wanted to bring you on at the end of our evening tonight as we make this very, very special announcement that Guiding Star is moving into birth centers across the United States and that we have secured this beautiful $30K match. Why is this a time in history? You know the landscape of in your work in communications. You know the landscape of the pro-life healthcare movement very well. Why are birth centers? Why is this a good time for this?
I mean, okay, from a policy perspective, we know that we are now in a post-Roe, post-Dobbs world. We are pro-life and want to encourage the empowerment of women and their families. And so, pregnancy centers serve a great role, especially for women who find themselves in unexpected pregnancies. But we need the full services for everybody else. Women who want to keep their babies, women who, want to also help their young daughters understand their fertility before even getting to that point. And so I think that it's just a continuum of care that's just very natural in the pro-life movement, that we are pro-woman, pro-child, pro-family, pro-fertility and understanding fertility, as well as the natural way of understanding and getting to the root cause of problems, whether it's infertility or whatever it might be. But with birth centers, you have an opportunity to help women not just choose life, but actually choose life and give birth and get the medical care that she needs and her kids need. And so I think that that's really where the pro-life movement needs to be going, and Guiding Star is really at the forefront of that. And this is beautiful. And I think that even people who maybe don't align on other issues will see, who want to do things in a green way, who want to really respect their own fertility, respect their own femininity, will find something beautiful there. And actually, it's a way to evangelize too.
We're super green. We're super organic.
Megan says here in the chat, I've always thought it's so strange that here in New England, birth centers and midwives are overwhelmingly pro-choice. We've come to understand this, that there are many in the birth center world that are very.
And this is really when we go way back to the beginning of our webcast tonight, we were talking about that the pro-life movement has really ceded women's health to the other side. We've kind of removed our voice from it. And as a lactation consultant, I'm always just shocked that the majority of lactation consultants are also very pro-choice. Birth workers in general tend to be the reproductive rights of contraception and abortion being critical to women's health, but we know that's just the furthest thing from the truth.
Yes, and I think it's just reclaiming what should be ours to have, the fact that we do care about women in the continuum of care for them. And so it's maybe a way to also re-educate as well, and be a presence in a way that we haven't seen in the movement.
I want to ask you a personal question, Irina. You are pregnant. What does empowerment during your pregnancy and your birth mean to you?
Well, for me, I was trained in fertility awareness, and I'm so grateful for that. And I think that working with people who know that, I went and I had a bad experience at one of the biggest hospitals in the DC metro area, where the doctor was demeaning because I wanted to know what my progesterone levels were during one of my emergency visits there. But so empowering is to work with people who actually know the full breadth of fertility concerns, and then to be able, as Tammy was saying, to make decisions, to be able to offer options, so that I, as a woman, as a mom, can make decisions about how I want to deliver my baby, and what medications to take, what medications not to take. But I think that having been in that experience at one of the big hospitals in the DC area, and seeing that again, I don't want to just be a number there where they just push me along without asking what I want, and also just not giving me the options. I think that can be the most empowering thing, is to be able to just make those decisions, especially because we come to it wanting the best thing that we can for our children, and so just giving moms and dads the option to be able to find out what that is, and to do it their way. And like you said, Leah, birth should be this beautiful, joyful experience. And I've heard so many people just have terrible experiences, and that's taking something away from women. And I think that, for all these years, women have delivered babies, and that it could be this peaceful, beautiful, joyful thing, even as hard as it is, that it doesn't have to be a traumatic experience. And I think that this is a way to show the beauty of what's ahead, and also just to encourage women to be more proactive about their own fertility, about educating themselves about what's out there.
You work with many different organizations. Again, you understand this landscape very well. These are interesting economic times. There's many things going on in the world, of course. That's not lost on anyone, I think. What would you say to someone who is really discerning carefully where to give their hard-earned money, right? How does one discern where to give, and why would someone consider giving to Guiding Star right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are a lot of, for example, there are a lot of pro-life organizations, and they do amazing work. But I think that looking at where are the groups that are actually taking this to the next level, especially in the medical care for women, and really putting money there and putting time, talent, treasure in that direction is the way that the movement is going, because we we want to offer something. We're not a place to say no, don't do this. It's a place to say this is what's going to actually make you feel more alive. It's actually going to be the best for you health wise and for your family. And so looking at, I think that Guiding Star is actually opening up solutions to problems that have not been solved, and that it's creating new pathways for a future. And we talked about this before, Lisa, that the medical field right now is really, I wish that we could just re um, reform the whole medical field, because doctors and nurses are burnt out. um, People are treated like numbers in there, and I think that it's a way to reclaim healthcare for the way it ought to be, which is patient centered, which is where there's a relationship truly between a doctor or midwife and the patient. And so it's a new way to do healthcare, and a new path to show that is both life giving, joy giving, and I think that it shows the way that we can move forward in a healthy way, and not just with the delivery, but the experience of it around it. I think that we can show that there is a pro-life way to move forward.
Very good. Leah, any other final questions for our dear?
Well, just what Irina was just saying there about choice. You used the word choice several times, which I was like, that's just, it's so ironic, that we're not considered the pro-choice side, but we're like, we want to give you birth choice. We want to give you fertility choice. We want to give you true options with education and giving you all of the information and really just showing you how your natural body works. We want to give you a healthy choice. So it's just a really interesting juxtaposition of rhetoric right now.
Well, very good. Irina, thank you so much for joining us today. You are such a valued member of our board, and we are grateful for your support. And we're so excited for you and that little baby.
Our board, our team, there's always at least 1 or 2 pregnant women. It's so exciting. I love it.
And, this keeps coming up in the chat, informed choice. Like informed choice. It's not the first time that it's been mentioned tonight. Irina, go rest your pregnant self. I'm gonna go rest my pregnant self.
Yeah, you're both pregnant. It's so much fun.
Yes.
Thank you, Irina, so much. Leah, it's time for us to conclude this webcast. And I'm
so grateful to all the people that hung out with us this whole time. This has been a lot of fun. I mean, I'm in awe that you guys are all still here 2 hours later.
The audience. Here's the thing I really want to highlight or reflect back about this evening. To create a movement and to create a national movement, there's recognition that needs to be made. How recognizable is Planned Parenthood? It's a household name, right? And even, actually, to be frank, I couldn't tell you what the brand looks like in my brain. If I close my eyes, I can't go that far. But, there's these kind of like what Jamie was talking about with sushi. Sometimes when you're just exposed to something over and over again, it just becomes completely embedded into your subconscious. Your cerebral cortex of your brain, like, just sort of thinks it's okay, great, this is a pattern that we're seeing all the time. What I love about your vision, Leah, is that let's get into the cerebral cortex of women across the nation that Guiding Star is the premier place to receive healthcare, to receive holistic healthcare. We're not looking to create one center. We're looking to create 50. And then selfishly, I want to center wherever there is a Planned Parenthood. And at this time of recording, I want to say that's like 700 and change.
Right. Yeah. Something like that. I think 600 something. I think they've closed a few. They're consolidating.
This takes time. This takes resources. This takes way more than 30,000. But we start with $1. We start with one woman. We start with one center. We start with one director. What you have done in approximately 10 short years is quite, it's funny. When I look at the historical background of Guiding Star, I have read 3 different versions of how many years he's been on.
People ask me that all the time. They're like, when did this start? I'm like, 2006. No, wait, 2009. 2012. I don't know.
Anyway, but my point is, it's time for a new era of Guiding Star. It's time for an era where we are linking arms nationally. It's time for an era where we are truly creating a movement in all of the realms we've been talking about today: mindset, in social structures, in medical structures. It's time. We need to get our voices loud, like Jamie said. It's time to be loud. And so our invitation tonight is, can you assist us in getting loud? Can you assist us in this match where your donations will be doubled until November 3rd? So here's how it's going to work. There's a link right below this video, guidingstarproject.com/donate. Anything that comes in between now and Friday, November 3rd at midnight is going to be doubled. And so that's a significant double or maximization, let's say, of your donation. Leah, any final words? Lydia says we can do it. Anna says
we can do it. I mean, that's the thing. I think we can, you guys.
Yes.
The rising tide raises all ships, and that's why I love to feature our friends, Natural Womanhood, Hormone Genius Podcast, facts about fertility. Like, this is already a movement. We are, I saw in the comments, Veranova Health, Bella Health, I mentioned earlier, Tepeyac Health, like Morningstar. There are so many of these amazing locations already. Guiding Star is going to lead the way in doing something a little new that hasn't quite been there yet in the birth center world. So pray for us. We're going to figure this one out. But it's an incredible movement. We're so happy to be part of it. We're so grateful for all of you alongside us at this moment in time, because it's going to take all of our voices getting really loud together to change what women demand for their healthcare in our country.
Atlanta Metro is ready.
I like Atlanta. Let's go.
Olivia is here from Sympto.
Oh, we love Sympto Pro.
Yes.
We love you guys. So.
And Anna says, I love how you feature all the different organizations. And Anna, you were not there when I came to Ave Maria and shared a couple little things. So we'll have to go and connect on that. Let's do it, everybody. Jody, thank you for joining. Everyone, thank you so much for joining. Leah, final parting words tonight.
Let's start this revolution. It's time for a new wave of the feminist movement. It's time. Let's rewrite feminism and do it right this time.
guidingstarproject.com/donate. Share this stream with whoever you think would benefit from the material, but also would be excited to link arms with us in this true revolution that is saving lives, that is viewing pregnancy as a celebration instead of some kind of condition, and truly creating a culture of life that can sustain. Let's just beat Planned Parenthood. That's the phrase that I use all the time. I'm just like, let's just beat them.
They just do so much better. They're like crappy McDonald's fries.
Leah Jacobson, thank you so much. I'm Lisa Canning. It has been a pleasure to spend 2 hours and 11 minutes. We actually kept it really tight. I have a tendency to go quite over, so I'm very grateful for everyone for spending some time with us this evening. Everybody, we will talk to you again soon. Bye,
everyone. Have a great night.